Do you lack confidence on camera when you are live streaming? On this episode, you will learn tips to help you have a more confident live with our guest, Kirk Nugent. My name is Christian Karasiewicz, and I'm joined by Melanie, Dyann, Howe, who's co hosting with me on the Launch Your Life podcast. And this is actually going to be a really good topic because, well, on camera confidence, it's super important. And this is because if you're not comfortable on camera, live streaming can be challenging. Having confidence on camera not only helps you look more professional on your live streams, but it also makes for a more engaging stream, which we're going to learn more about here shortly with Kirk. You know, with an engaging live stream, people are more likely to continue to tune in. So, on this episode, we're going to be joined by Kirk Nugent, and we're going to discuss how to be more confident on camera when you are live streaming. So, I'm going to go and bring on Melanie, Dyann, Howe, and we're going to get to interviewing Kirk.
Yeah,
So,
this is going to be great. I'm excited about this episode.
yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun, by the way. And, it's great having Kirk join us for Launcher Live. So, Kirk and I, we've worked together on a couple of things, and, I'm glad to finally be able to have him on the Launcher Live podcast. But I'm going to turn it over to you, Mel, and I'm going to bring on Kirk.
Yeah, let's do it.
All
Hey,
right.
Kirk, how's it going?
Doing good. Glad to be here. Excited.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. We're really excited about as Christian said, this is a really important thing. And so I'm super, super grateful to have you on the show today. So before we get going into today's content though, Kirk, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Who are you, my friend?
I'm Kirk Nugent, and I teach small businesses, entrepreneurs, and faith-based entities how to simplify live video mechanics to shine a floodlight on their brand. I've been in this space doing live video strategy for about a year, but have a long history with live streaming and have done it in multiple capacities, both as an NGO, what do you call it, missionary, I was going to say minister, missionary worker overseas, but also as a CIO and CTO for higher ed institutions right here in the US and it's specifically in Alabama. So I've got a long history with media and technology and bring all of that to bear for my clients in that space. So excited about this opportunity to share on what I think is a critical topic. A lot of times we get into talking about live streaming, we talk about the technical, everybody goes directly to the gear.
Yes,
but if you're not confident on camera, that is a make or break. I mean, nobody really wants to watch that. So that's a huge point. I'm excited about the topic that we've chosen today.
Very true. Yeah. So you said you've been kind of getting into the live streaming aspect for about a year, but you've been doing it a lot longer than that. So,
Oh, yeah.
One question we always like to ask our guests is, when did you first get into live streaming? Was there something you did that, immediately you said, you know what, that's what I want to do?
Yeah, I think this is not unique. A lot of people have a similar, origin story when it comes on to live streaming. But it was church. I was on the media team at my church. We were doing. We wanted to be able to do this live streaming thing. We're using a platform. You used to have Church Pond and several others that churches used to use, and so we're using one called Praise Vision. And we wanted to do our own. We wanted to stream directly to our own website, to our own social media platforms. And there was a program called Mogulus. I don't know if anybody who's listening or watching remembers Mogulus. Mogulus was what we used at the time. It had the chat on the side, and it allowed us to engage with viewers. At that time, man, live streamers were getting thousands of people watching every time you went live. So it was definitely the Wild West. This was back in 2007, 2008, that time frame. Mogulus was purchased by Mogulus' name became Livestream. Yes, that was the name of the company. And then Livestream was later purchased by Vimeo. So that's the history behind that platform. But that's the one I used to use way back in the day to go live.
Very cool. That's it's really awesome. I love hearing about all the history of how live streaming has kind of evolved. I mean, it's gone from many. I remember I was using it back when Google Hangouts was around, and we were using the virtual like for example, you have Snapchat right now, and you can bring in like objects, for example, and they move with you. We were using those back in the day with Google Hangouts, and they were okay. They weren't great, and we were trying to use them for Halloween and other holidays.
So much, yeah. People were really creative, and it was an expression of yourself almost. And I think we still see that in a lot of social media platforms, even to today, till today, right? So that's good.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. How you say it's an expression of yourself. I mean, I think that, looking at us all here, obviously we're also doing a video, all of our scenes are very different. Right. And I think that says a lot about, your personalities. And clearly, Kirk, you and I like lights, we like colorful lights and it's fun. Right. So Christian, more of a minimalist. It's okay.
But I love the look. I love the look as well.
Same. I love it. So, hey, let's dig into all this camera confidence stuff. I know you've got some amazing tips for us, but before we get into that, I would like you, Kirk, describe what it means to be camera confident. Like, what does that look like?
Man, camera confidence, in my opinion, equates to being your authentic self, right? And I know for myself, I've got a couple of siblings, 4 to be exact. So I'm right in the middle, right? Number 3. So 2 above, 2 below. And so there's always an interesting dynamic in the home growing up. But one of the things I learned to do as a child was to be able to laugh at my own jokes and kind of just entertain myself. If you're going to be on camera by yourself, like I am right now, you have got to be able to laugh at your own jokes. You've got to be your authentic self. You can't have a whole lot of questions about that. You really want to be able to allow that person that you are when nobody's watching to really shine out in front of the camera. And here's the truth. Because we are all people, we're all human beings, we resonate with that with one another. So if I say something, a corny joke or something, and I laugh at it, and I'm genuinely laughing at myself, you will find that viewers, if they're honest with you, will join in and laughing with you at home as they're watching as well. So camera confidence really is the ability to show and share your authentic self. It's not always going to be polished. That's why I love, having a nice setup, because then I can share something that's really, me, right? That's really vulnerably me. That's not perfect. That's not polished. The camera's polished and the setting is polished, but I can actually just be me. And that is, in my opinion, what it really means to be confident on camera.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a really great question. Yeah. So that's what it means to be camera confident. But
right.
Okay. So let's talk about the why. Like, why does it really matter if I'm confident on camera when live streaming?
Yeah, this is the data supports engaging live streams are live streams that people stay on longer. There is click-through rate is higher. If there is a call to action, you will find that people are, responding to that call to action. And one of the ways that you can have a really engaging live stream is when you are confident on camera. When you have it's similar to having an event host. You wouldn't pick an event host who is just monotone and dull and boring, or better yet, I wouldn't even say those to go that far, but to say that these are people who are not confident in themselves, I would think is a stretch. You'd want to invent host who's going to be able to show up on camera or show up on stage and really, take the crowd on a journey. And they're the constant person who's going to be coming back time and time again, much like Christian is and Dyann is, or Melanie is for this show, right? We expect to hear them ask the questions that we as viewers would ask. We expect to hear them, kind of interject things from our perspective. And that's the whole point of having a live show and having a live stream is you want to be engaged. It's a two-way conversation. It's a two-way street. So you don't want it to just be one way. You want it to be engaging. The last piece in terms of why camera confidence, in my opinion, is so important is establishing yourself as an authority figure in a specific space. And understanding that you are an authority figure in this specific space means that you can turn away some of the things that are not your space. So it's easy to say on camera in front of everybody, no, I have no idea what that is, because that's not me. And again, you're just being your authentic self. So when you establish this is me, this is why I'm here, this is the space I'm creating, this is the value that I have to offer the world, and no more. So that is one of the reasons why being confident on camera is so critical. What it is and why it is are two different questions, but I'm glad that we touched on both.
Excellent.
Yeah, I love that. I love how it's essentially being authentic, but also helping your audience. When they see that you're confident, then they're more confident in the content that you're sharing with them. And it kind of reminds me of those funny commercials where, the surgeon walks in and he's like, "Are you nervous?" And the guy's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah. Me too." It's like, oh my gosh, that is not the surgeon you want, right? So yeah, I think those are excellent points. So Kirk, I know that you've got some tips though, because hey, we know, why it's important. We know what it means to be confident on camera, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we can just go walk away and be confident on camera. So why don't you share some tips with our audience on how they can improve their confidence on camera? I think you've got 5 awesome tips. So let's go through those.
5 of them. So listen, 5 of them, and I'm going to try and do them as quickly as I can. But if you haven't guessed already, I'm a talker, so I struggle with being short, right?
Hey, I'm here for it. I love it.
And we got plenty of time here, so.
Oh, good, perfect. The first tip is do your homework. You gotta do your homework, right? Whatever the topic is that you are looking to expound on, to share on, what are you looking to really get across to your audience? One of the things that shows up in your confidence is whether or not you're prepared, right? And there's a couple of different things that I'm going to share here, and all of them are under the banner or umbrella of being prepared, but homework is the first one. If you're going live talking about how to lose weight, what homework have you done? Like, what tips are you going to share? What have you done to share with people that they will walk away with? And that's number one, is to do the homework. And sometimes the homework is from years of experience. My journey in terms of live streaming started long ago, long before I ever knew that this was going to be a job for me. And so my homework isn't necessarily going back and studying how to go live. My homework is actually looking at my story and figuring out what's valuable there that I can share with other people. What's valuable? What lessons do? When my live stream crashed on me when I was, starting up back in 2009, 2010, what did I learn from that experience that I can share with somebody so that when they start today, it's not the same experience? And that's absolute value that you're providing to people. And that is exactly the kind of thing that will allow you to show up on camera confident. And anytime, this is just a speaker's tip. Anytime you can share a story about yourself, it creates, that lean in movement. That's what all speakers and live streamers, in my opinion, are always trying to get people to do, is to lean in. It's like, I'm more engaged now. Let me put my phone down. Let me pay attention here. He's telling a story. She's telling a story about herself, himself. And I kind of want to hear that because it's going to give perspective. And so do your homework. Do your homework. Make sure you know exactly what it is you have to share with people from your experiences and what that value proposition is as well. So the number one is to do your homework, right? The number two, I'm going to just run through these here, is to make sure that you have your checklist. I have a checklist that I run through before I go live. Somebody that I follow, his name is Eric Thomas. He's a well-known speaker. He has this checklist he does before he goes on stage, and part of his checklist is to do 50 push-ups. I can't do 50 push-ups, so that's not a part of my checklist. but I have this checklist. One of the things on my checklist, I know this is one that me and Melanie share, is to wipe down my camera. Yes. I just wipe down that's part of my checklist. That's part of my checklist, and so I do my checklist, watch this, to make sure that when I'm done with that checklist, I feel confident. Have I rebooted my system? Is the capture card working? Is my camera clean? Do I have a bunch of stuff running in the background? How do I sound? Have I tested these things? I go through my checklist, have a checklist, go through your checklist, and that will give you a level of confidence when you're on camera. When you know that you've checked those boxes, that's going to give you a level of confidence. You cannot get that from anything else. So have a checklist. And the third, of course, this is still under that umbrella of being prepared, is to follow your run sheet or run of show, whatever you want to call it. Your run of show does one thing that is very specific. Yes, it helps you to be organized. Yes, it keeps your train of thought, makes sure you throw out there different things like, share, subscribe, that kind of stuff. But your run sheet, run of show, also gives you flexibility. In your live show, some things will happen that are unexpected. What are you going to do to pivot? What are you going to do to shift? If you don't have a run sheet, you don't know what to shift to next. You don't know how to move things around to pivot, shift on a dime, if you will. Your run sheet allows you to do that. And when you know what you can grab next, you have a level of confidence that comes out, that is prevalent, that is visible on camera, and that really will help you to boost your camera. The fourth is to practice. I'm a carpenter's son. We have the mentality, the old adage that says we measure twice, we cut once, right? You can't cut that wood more than once. So if you cut it wrong, you got to go get another sheet of wood. And so create a private group and go live, go through the content, then go back and watch the tape. Everybody does this. It's not just live streamers. It's not just speakers. Your favorite basketball player goes back and watches tape. Your favorite basketball player actually is in the gym practicing with no one watching several days a week. If you want to be serious about this space, you want to be serious about, going live and being confident, you're going to need to do some practice. That's just the long and short of it. There's no way around that hard work. It's called practice. The last one is to get a PhD in you. To have a PhD in you, to understand yourself better than anyone else. To know who you are and to know your brand and to know what it is you are doing and what it is you're not doing. And so that helps you to be confident in terms of, again, as I mentioned before, somebody asks a question that's kind of outside of your sphere of influence and expertise. You can tell them point blank, I don't know that, but I got some friends like Christian and Melanie. You might want to ask them because they do know that, and that is their area of expertise. You got to know yourself. A good friend of mine was at a presentation the other day, and they were saying the presenter shared that your brand is what you say no to. I thought that was so profound. Your brand is what you say no to. And they shared this story about Steve Jobs, and they were making the iPod, and he was saying, I need it smaller. And the developers said to them, no, it can't be any smaller. We've made it smaller. And this is the story, right? He takes this iPod, throws it into a fish tank, and bubbles come up. And he says to them, if there's air in there, there's still space.
I have never heard that one, actually.
He said, I want it smaller.
I know just about everything Apple, but that is one thing I have never heard. So I love the example there. I mean,
absolutely.
These are all really good tips to help people improve their confidence on camera. I do have one question also, by the way. You're talking about knowing yourself. A lot of people, they throw around the idea of faking it until you make it. Does that apply here? Should people still do that, or should they try to always avoid faking it until they make it, maybe leverage their network? What do you think?
There's such a thing as putting training wheels on a bike. There is such a thing as somebody holding the back of the seat while you ride, but there is no such thing as faking riding a bike.
Mm-hmm. I love this.
You get what I'm saying? There's just no way around that. So you get on the bike, and you either ride it or you don't, or you put something on it that's going to allow you to get a feel for riding it on your own. This is where that practice piece comes in. I really think that explorers, like all three of us on screen, will create spaces for us to kick the tires, to really break it. That's what I've done on all of the platforms that I've learned over the last year or so. I create a space for myself to bring it to its knees, if you will, right? And then I know what not to do and what to do when I'm actually in a live production. You've got to, in order for you to fly, to really be successful on camera, there is a decision point that needs to be made, if that makes sense. Am I going to do this or am I not? And if it's worth doing, it's worth doing well. So, get the coach, book a session with Christian, book a session with Melanie, book a session with Kirk. Do what's necessary to walk that path, right? Even if you're imitating what you've seen somebody else do, you're still doing it. But I don't think it's possible, at least not with camera confidence, maybe some other things, but not with camera confidence to fake it till you make it. That's just the Kirk version.
I agree. And I think that phrase, I think whoever came up with that phrase in the first place, I think they had good intentions behind it, but I think to your point is I love the analogy about the bicycle and the training wheels and having someone help you. That is exactly what I believe it should be as well. You know what I loved about these tips? You said the 5 things were basically do your homework. So being prepared is going to give you more confidence,
Absolutely.
And the checklist. I think when you have a routine, it helps like what to expect. And so having that little routine to go through before you go live is going to just help you feel reassured, right? That you're good to go. And then I definitely agree with the whole run sheet or agenda or whatever you want to call it, show flow. I just think that again is going to, even if something goes off or you need to pivot, you always have that to fall back on. It's kind of like, your crutch, if you will. I do agree about practicing, because I think that the point you were just making is, you get more confident when you add repetitions. You know what I mean? And so when you practice and practice and keep going, then I definitely think that, that gives people confidence to know, I got this. I've done this 100 times, I got this now. And then, but I really loved this whole PhD in yourself. I think that,
oh man,
that was really brilliant. And I think that, again, being confident, what I really like about this, Kirk, is that you went through these things and they weren't things like buy a really great camera so you look amazing, go spend $1,000 on your audio equipment so you sound amazing, add a bunch of lights so that that is all just fluff, And I liked how you didn't talk about those pieces, because all you really need is a phone to go live, right? All you really need is a phone to start creating videos. And no matter what fancy stuff you have or how much money you spend, that confidence piece isn't really going to be fulfilled. And I loved that you talked about these 5 things, because I think that this is what builds that foundation of confidence. So
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you sharing these 5 tips, but also I love that this was not about the gimmicky things, right? Now those things are fun, and they definitely
they are.
Oh, they make you feel pretty empowered, but when it comes down to the confidence thing, I think you shared some gold nuggets here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I just want to reiterate just a couple of really key points here. I mean, you talked about practice. You gave the example of, for example, a basketball player. They go and after the game, they're in there shooting shots again. Here's the thing. The reason they're doing that is they're building muscle memory.
Yes.
So it's like when you look at, for example, a basketball player, how are they able to consistently hit that 3-pointer, that free throw,
every time,
that 2-pointer? Like, it's because they're building that muscle memory. You look at tennis player, for example. Hey, how's the guy able to, just effortlessly swing and hit that ball? It's because they built that muscle memory. It's the same thing though with live streaming. So for you to be confident on camera, it's, knowing yourself, but also making sure that you're building that muscle memory, knowing, for example, what is my live stream about? What's my, step-by-step process of what I need to do to get myself in the right mindset to be confident on camera. And then, the other example you gave about the bike and the training wheels.
Yeah.
If you kind of think about it like this, you can't, like Mel, you said, you can't fake riding a bike. You're absolutely right. No. You can get help, and that help is, some of those things. For example, having the run sheet. Doesn't matter if this is the 1,000th time you've done a live stream or this is the first time.
Yeah.
You go right back to it. It makes it much easier for you to be more confident on camera, because you know that you've got this. And the only way you're going to get better at that is by practicing, i.e. being on more live streams, doing more live streams, just going live in a Facebook group, for example, with just yourself, and then looking at yourself and saying, hey, you know what? Going back to what Kirk said, watching that film.
Yep.
So I have one last question, by the way, Kirk, for you. And this is a super easy one. It's, where can people connect with Kirk Nugent if they want to learn more about you and all the things you're doing?
Man, I am Kirk R. Nugent on all social media platforms. Kirk R. Nugent. I know that R is what I've got to stress, because there's another really cool guy named Kirk Nugent, really good, great known, well-known speaker named Kirk Nugent. And I actually had a privilege to meet him a couple of times. But Kirk R. Nugent on all social media. HowItAllWorks.com is kind of my nexus. That's where I'm hanging out these days on the World Wide Web. Works is spelled with an E. So howitallworks.com is where we have some things, and you can definitely find us, follow us, and see what we got coming up next on those platforms.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us for, this is episode 63 of the Launcher Live podcast, where we discuss tips and I can't say where I'd say more Kirk discussed tips to help you build confidence on camera when live streaming. And so remember, if you need help with your live streams, don't hesitate. Contact us for a consultation by messaging us at Launch Your Live at all of our social media platforms. And then for more information on this episode, all you got to do is go to launchyour.live/EP63. We'll see you all on a future episode. Thanks a lot for tuning in.